Welcome to the information session for potential applicants to the competition for the National Center on Digital Access and Education. This competition falls under the Educational Technology, Media, and Materials for Individuals with Disabilities program, which is a discretionary grant program managed by the Office of Special Education Programs. This information session will provide you with information about applying for this grant opportunity that was posted in the Federal Register on January 3rd, 2024. I am Rebecca Sheffield, Project Officer at OSEP. Today, I will provide interested applicants with information regarding this grant competition. The assistance listing number is 84.327Z. I would like to go over some caveats before we begin this webinar. First, the intent of this presentation is to provide guidance only, and the information contained in this webinar provides a general summary of the information contained in the notice inviting applications and the application package. Therefore, it's important all prospective applicants read the entire notice, application package, and any additional relevant information. In addition, applicants are encouraged to listen to a more general webinar entitled Applying for Office of Special Education Programs Discretionary Grants for an orientation to the overall application submission process. That webinar can be found at osepideas.org, the same location that houses the link to this recording. Please be aware of application timelines. The notice inviting applications was published in the Federal Register on January 3rd, 2024. All applications are due on March 4th, 2024, no later than 11:59 and 59 seconds in the evening. Note that this is Eastern Time, and applicants should determine the corresponding time in your time zone. I will discuss the implications of late submissions later in this session. The application package will soon be available on grants.gov. It contains the most comprehensive information on how to apply. In it, you will find a Dear Applicant letter from the Director of OSEP's Research to Practice Division. The package includes important information about the submission procedures using the grants.gov system. The package also contains the detailed selection criteria that will be used to judge the quality of the applications, as well as general information and all required forms. Please read the application package carefully. In the following section, I will go over important information, including the purpose of this priority and eligible applicants. I will also discuss the funding level for the 84.327Z competition. The purpose of the Educational Technology, Media, and Materials for Individuals with Disabilities program is to improve results for children with disabilities by 1. Promoting the development, demonstration, and use of technology. 2. Supporting educational activities designed to be of educational value in the classroom. 3. Providing support for captioning and video description that is appropriate for use in the classroom. And 4. Providing accessible educational materials, or AEM, AIM, to children with disabilities in a timely manner. The purpose of this priority is to fund a cooperative agreement to establish and operate a National Center on Digital Access in Education. The center will work with key partners to improve the quality, availability, and timely provision of accessible digital educational materials and instruction for children with disabilities in all learning environments in which children with disabilities are served under Part B and Part C of IDEA. Eligible applicants under this priority include state educational agencies, state lead agencies under Part C of IDEA, local education agencies, including public charter schools that are considered LEAs under state law, institutes of higher education, other public agencies, private nonprofit organizations, freely associated states and outlying areas, Indian tribes or tribal organizations, and for-profit organizations. We anticipate one award. Each award will not exceed an estimated $1,800,000 for a single budget period of 12 months, with a total project period of 48 months. This program uses an unrestricted indirect cost rate and does not include any program-specific limitation on administrative expenses. All administrative expenses must be reasonable and necessary to conform to cost principles described in Title II of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 200, Subpart E of the Uniform Guidance. Following are priority definitions or terms that are defined for the purposes of this priority. Please read the definitions and requirements in this notice carefully. For this priority, key partners must include state education agencies, local education agencies, Part C lead agencies, and relevant OSUP-funded technical assistance centers. Key partners may include other partners identified by the center as essential to the required outcomes of the grant. In this notice, accessible digital educational materials and instruction means electronic educational materials and accompanying technologies, including assessments, which are accessible to children with disabilities, along with any necessary instruction in the use of these materials and technologies, and instruction which effectively incorporates these materials and technologies. Children with disabilities and their families must be able to acquire the same information, engage in the same interactions, and enjoy the same services as people who do not have disabilities in an equally integrated and equally effective manner with substantially equivalent ease of use. For this priority, we use the definition of accessible format defined in Section 121 of the Copyright Act as an alternative manner or form that gives an eligible person access to the work when the copy or phone record in the accessible format is used exclusively by the eligible person to permit him or her to have access as feasibly and comfortably as a person without such disability. Braille would be an example of an accessible format. Please refer to the application for detailed definitions for underserved children and underserved families as they apply to the application requirements. In this section, beginning on slide 14, I will review application information, including expected project outcomes, application narrative and selection criteria, and requirements. Once again, this webinar provides a general summary of the information contained in the NIA and the application package. Please make sure to read the entire notice, application package, and any additional relevant information if you intend to apply. The center will have 4 expected outcomes that must be achieved. These are increased procurement and production of accessible digital educational technologies and materials by state education agencies, local education agencies, Part C lead agencies, educators, and service providers, including in areas with the highest percentages of children living in low-income families and in rural and remote areas. Increased state education agency, local education agency, and Part C lead agency adoption and use of policies and practices which ensure the procurement, curation, and provision of accessible materials, educational tools, and assessments for children with disabilities. Increased efficiency of state education agency and local education agency internal accessibility reviews of digital educational technologies, resulting in reduced costs and duplication of efforts. And finally, increased knowledge and skills of pre-service and in-service general and special educators, related service providers, and technical assistance providers in Office of Special Education Programs funded projects in the selection and preparation of accessible digital educational materials and instruction. The notice lays out how the application narrative should be divided into 5 sections. These 5 section headings are identical to the 5 categories of selection criteria used by reviewers to evaluate each application. I will go over the narrative sections and selection criteria and point out in general terms what should be addressed in each section of the narrative and how reviewers will consider each selection criteria. Please read the notice carefully, since the information contained in the notice is significantly more detailed. Slide 17 discusses the project's significance. The narrative section on significance should demonstrate how the proposed project will address the need for accessible digital educational materials and instruction to support equal opportunities for all children with disabilities. Please read the significance section of the NIA for specific expectations of what to include in this section, such as applicable data and relevant background knowledge. Reviewers will score the significance of proposed projects between 0 and 10 points. In determining the significance of the proposed project, the Secretary considers the following criteria: the potential contribution of the proposed project to increased knowledge or understanding of educational problems, issues, or effective strategies, the extent to which specific gaps or weaknesses in services, infrastructure, or opportunities have been identified and will be addressed by the proposed project, including the nature and magnitude of those gaps or weaknesses, and the extent to which the proposed project involves the development or demonstration of promising new strategies that build on or are alternatives to existing strategies. Slide 19 relates to the quality of project services. This section of the narrative should address how the proposed project will ensure equal access and treatment for members of groups that have been traditionally underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. Also, this section should include how the proposed project will achieve its goals, objectives, and intended outcomes, and be based on current research and make use of evidence-based practices. For example, we ask applicants to describe how the proposed project will align with current research and evidence-based policies, procedures, and practices which support the selection, procurement, and use of accessible digital educational materials and instruction for children with disabilities. The narrative section on quality of project services should also demonstrate how the proposed project will develop products and provide services that are of high quality and sufficient intensity and duration to achieve the intended outcomes of the proposed project. For example, 2 of the requirements in this section include describing the proposed center's approach to universal general technical assistance and to targeted specialized technical assistance. Refer to the definitions of technical assistance, or TA, in the application and on later slides in this presentation. Also, in the project services section, applicants should demonstrate how they will develop products and implement services that maximize efficiency, and how they will systematically disseminate information, products, and services to varied intended audiences. When evaluating applications for quality of project services, which is worth up to 35 points, reviewers will consider the following factors: the quality and sufficiency of strategies for ensuring equal access and treatment for eligible project participants who are members of groups that have traditionally been underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability, the extent to which the goals, objectives, and outcomes to be achieved by the proposed project are clearly specified and measurable, the extent to which there is a conceptual framework underlying the proposed research or demonstration activities and the quality of that framework, the extent to which the services to be provided by the proposed project reflect up-to-date knowledge from research and effective practice. Reviewers will also consider the extent to which the training or professional development services to be provided by the proposed project are of sufficient quality, intensity, and duration to lead to improvements in practice among the recipients of those services, The extent to which the services to be provided by the proposed project involve the collaboration of appropriate partners for maximizing the effectiveness of project services, and the extent to which the technical assistance services to be provided by the proposed project involve the use of efficient strategies, including the use of technology as appropriate and the leveraging of non-project resources. On slide 23, this relates to the quality of a proposed project's evaluation. The portion of the narrative should include formative and summative evaluation questions across all planned levels of technical assistance, including important process and outcome evaluation questions. The plan should also describe methods for measuring progress in and fidelity of implementation, as well as project outcomes and strategies for analyzing data, and how data will be used to inform and improve service delivery over the course of the project. The plan should also include a timeline for conducting the evaluation, along with staff assignments. Reviewers will score the quality of project evaluation between 0 and 20 points. In determining the quality of the proposed project evaluation, the Secretary considers the following factors: the extent to which the methods of evaluation are thorough, feasible, and appropriate to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the proposed project, the extent to which the methods of evaluation include the use of objective performance measures that are clearly related to the intended outcomes of the project and will produce quantitative and qualitative data to the extent possible, the extent to which the methods of evaluation will provide performance feedback and permit periodic assessment of progress towards achieving intended outcomes. Slide 25 relates to the adequacy of resources and quality of personnel for proposed projects. This section of the narrative should demonstrate how the proposed project will encourage applications for employment from persons who are members of groups that have traditionally been underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability, as appropriate, and demonstrate how the proposed key project personnel, consultants, and subcontractors have the qualifications and experience to carry out the proposed activities and achieve the project's intended outcomes, as well as how the applicant and any key partners have adequate resources to carry out the proposed activities. Also, demonstrate how the proposed project will have processes, resources, and funds in place to provide equitable access for project staff, contractors, and partners who require digital accessibility accommodations, and how the proposed costs are reasonable in relation to the anticipated results and benefits. Reviewers will score the adequacy of resources and quality of personnel between 0 and 15 points. In determining the adequacy of resources and quality of personnel, the Secretary considers the following factors: the extent to which the applicant encourages applications for employment from persons who are members of groups that have been traditionally underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. The qualifications, including relevant training and experience, of the project director or principal investigator, key project personnel, project consultants or subcontractors, and the evaluator. This includes the independence of the external evaluator. The Secretary also considers the adequacy of support, including facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources from the applicant organization or the lead applicant organization. The relevance and demonstrated commitment of each partner in the proposed project to the implementation and success of the project, the extent to which the budget is adequate to support the proposed project, the extent to which costs are reasonable in relation to the objectives, design, and potential significance of the proposed project. Slide 29 relates to the quality of management plan for the proposed project. In this section, the narrative should address how the proposed management plan will ensure that the project's intended outcomes will be achieved on time and within budget. Demonstrate how key project personnel and any consultants and subcontractors will be allocated and how these allocations are appropriate and adequate to achieve the project's intended outcomes, and how the proposed management plan will ensure that the products and services provided are of high quality, relevance, and useful to recipients. Also demonstrate how the proposed project will benefit from a diversity of perspectives, including those of families, educators, technical assistance providers, researchers, and policymakers, among others, in its development and operation. Reviewers will score the quality of the management plan between 0 and 20 points, taking into consideration the adequacy of the management plan to achieve the objectives of the proposed project on time and within budget, including clearly defined responsibilities, timelines, and milestones for accomplishing project tasks, and the adequacy of procedures for ensuring feedback and continuous improvement in the operation of the proposed project. Reviewers will also consider the extent to which the time commitments of the project director and principal investigator and other key project personnel are appropriate and adequate to meet the objectives of the proposed project, as well as how the applicant will ensure the diversity of perspectives are brought to bear in the operation of the proposed project, including those of parents, teachers, the business community, a variety of disciplinary and professional fields, recipients or beneficiaries of services, or others as appropriate. The external reviewers will judge and score the quality of the application using selection criteria. Each application can receive up to a total of 100 points. As I mentioned in the previous slides, the significance of the project can be scored up to 10 points. Quality of project services up to 35 points. Quality of the project evaluation up to 20 points. Adequacy of resources and quality of project personnel up to 15 points, and quality of the management plan up to 20 points. The application package contains more details about the narrative requirements and selection criteria. Applicants are strongly encouraged to read these carefully when preparing the application narrative. Additionally, when preparing an application, please keep in mind OSEP's definitions for different levels of technical assistance. Universal or general technical assistance means technical assistance and information provided to independent users through their own initiative, resulting in minimal interaction with project staff. Universal general TA includes one-time invited or offered conference presentations by project staff, information or products such as newsletters, guidebooks, or research syntheses downloaded from the project's website by independent users, and brief communications by project staff with recipients, either by telephone or email. These are also considered universal general TA. Targeted specialized TA means TA services based on needs common to multiple recipients and is not extensively individualized. A relationship is established between the TA recipient and one or more TA project staff. Targeted TA includes one-time labor-intensive events, such as facilitating strategic planning or hosting regional or national conferences. Episodic, less labor-intensive events that extend over a period of time, such as facilitating a series of conference calls on single or multiple topics that are designed around the needs of recipients, and facilitating communities of practice. Although previous 327Z priorities have included intensive TA, there is no requirement for intensive TA in this notice inviting applications. A few more reminders. A successful applicant must make positive efforts to employ and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities, must involve individuals with disabilities or parents of individuals with disabilities, ages birth through 26, in planning, implementing, and evaluating the project, must maintain a high-quality website, must budget for attendance at in-person kickoff meetings, project director meetings, and additional department briefings or conferences, and budget for a 5% set-aside as described in the notice inviting applications. Also, applicants must propose to engage doctoral students or postdoctoral fellows, including those who are multilingual and racially, ethnically, and culturally diverse in the project to increase the number of future leaders in the field who are knowledgeable about digital accessibility and related technologies in educational and early learning contexts, and include in Appendix A an assurance to assist OSEP with the transfer of pertinent resources and products during the transition to a new award at the end of this award period as appropriate. Sometimes applicants have questions about the permissibility of subgrants and contracts. Under this award, a grantee under this competition may award subgrants to specific types of entities to directly carry out project activities described in its application. Refer to 34 CFR 75.708 B and C. In this next section, beginning on slide 34, I will cover some general information related to submitting an application. Once again, please refer to the notice for additional information. Please note that applications must be submitted electronically in the grants.gov system. See grants.gov submission procedures and tips for applicants included in the application package. We strongly recommend that you do not wait until the last day to submit your application. Grants.gov will put a date and time stamp on your application and then process it after it is fully uploaded. The time it takes to upload an application will vary depending on a number of factors, including the size of the application and the speed of your internet connection. And the time it takes grant.gov to process the application will vary as well. If grants.gov rejects your application, you will need to resubmit successfully to grants.gov before 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. Eastern Time on the deadline date. If there are reasons why an applicant cannot submit using grants.gov, the applicant must follow the information contained in the application package. Applications cannot be submitted by email, and they must be submitted prior to the deadline of 11:59 p.m. March 4th. We strongly encourage applicants to submit all narratives and attachments in PDF read-only format, and please ensure narratives and attachments are formatted to ensure accessibility for reviewers. In order to make sure that the application is submitted on time and correctly, please register as early as possible in grants.gov and start the application process. Do not wait until you have the application ready to register. Grants.gov will create a workspace for applicants to submit the pieces of the application over time. If you're already registered in the system for award management, make sure your registration is current. Submit early, a day or more in advance if possible. Should there be any problems with the grants.gov system, submitting early will allow you time to correct the problem and resubmit before the deadline. Verify that the submission is okay. Grants.gov will send applicants notifications that the submission was on time and validated, so applicants should make sure that they receive that confirmation and not assume that the submission was okay. On slide 41, we have some additional advice for submitting an application. Pay attention to the maximum funding levels for the grant, as contained in this notice. Awards will not be made for amounts higher than the published amounts. Following the recommended organization, page limits, spacing, and font size will facilitate the application review process. An applicant should strongly consider following these recommendations. PDF files make it easier for the system to put together different parts of the application into one application that reviewers can more easily read and follow. The grants.gov submission procedures and tips for applicants in the application package can be extremely helpful for submitting the application in grants.gov. Resources about document accessibility are available at osepideas.work.org under Resources for Grantees, 508 Accessibility. Please note that if for any reason an application is submitted more than once and validated more than once, the last application submitted will be considered and previous applications will be considered duplicates and therefore ineligible. There are two additional reasons why applications may not be eligible. First, all applications received after the published deadline will not be eligible for funding. Second, applications that do not address the priority will also not be eligible for funding. For example, an application proposing to build a school, purchase equipment for a classroom, establish an after-school program, or provide tutoring services for children with disabilities will not be eligible since that is not the purpose of this priority. Once again, the purpose of the priority is to fund a cooperative agreement to establish and operate a National Center on Digital Access and Education. We look forward to the important work that this center will do to increase equitable access to education and to support states, schools, teachers, families, and students to engage with digital environments, instruction, and tools. Thank you for reviewing this webinar. As I mentioned at the beginning, the webinar covered highlights of what's contained in the application package and priority. If you have additional questions, please contact me, preferably by email, at Rebecca, REBECCA, .Sheffield, SHEFFIELD, @ed.gov. You can also contact me by phone at 202-245-6490. Have a wonderful day.